Prediction season is in full swing. Batter up, baby. Let's ride. We got the Big 10 here in this video, you guys. We just did the SEC. If you care about that, or if you just want to know what I thought, because that would be awesome if you do, go check that video out. We kept it short. We kept it brief, and we're going to do the same thing in this video. As a quick disclaimer before we dive in, I am not an expert by any stretch. These are just my opinions, and I am not someone that's going to die on a hill that I am right and you are wrong. I want to hear your opinion. This is all just solely for fun for me. It's out of the love for college football. I will be the first person to tell you, wow, I was way off. Wow, I was wrong. I hope I'm not. But with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's dive into the Big Ten. We're going to do the same format. We're going to start at the bottom. I'll give you a couple teams I think will probably be bottom of the pack, underperformers. We'll talk about a lot of that big chunk in the middle there, and then we'll get into what I would consider the upper echelon, say top 4 teams, and then into the top 2 in the conference championship game, and then who I think wins the Big Ten this year. Starting at the bottom is Purdue. All right, now I'm really high on Barry Odom. I think that Purdue can really turn things around, and I'm excited for the future for the Boilermakers, but I still think it's going to be a growing pains kind of year. Honestly, I think it's, they lost a lot of their best talent, really the little, I don't want to say little, but any talent that was, enough to make an instant impact that they did have are now gone and spread out all over college football elsewhere. But if you give Barry Odom time, I think this program will be better. However, I do think this year they will finish towards the bottom. Maybe not dead last, but towards the bottom. Next is Maryland. However, Maryland's an interesting one, all right? I'm a believer in Mike Locksley, head coach over there. And Malik Washington, the quarterback they got, he's a 4-star. He's shown a lot of really just signs of hope for Maryland football. This isn't a program that's been, necessarily a complete bottom feeder, but I just think with the schedule they have this year and how deep the Big Ten has grown each and every year, it's getting tougher and tougher for Locksley and company to have a good year. I think they will finish a little bit more towards the bottom. Last team is David Brown in Northwestern. I hope they build the new stadium because that'll be awesome. And, when Braun took over as an interim, what a heck of a season. Although things kind of came off the rails last year. I know it's hard to recruit, and obviously Northwestern has such a high academic prowess, but I just think, again, with the schedule they have, the depth of this conference, they slide down towards the bottom. Let's talk about the middle of the pack, all right? Man, oh man, oh man. Think about Wisconsin. This is a team that I think is probably going to finish towards the bottom middle of the pack. I guess, how you want to do your math if that is the bottom of the conference, but one of the toughest schedules in college football. Luke Fickell's back is not even against the wall, it's through the wall. I'm really worried about the Badgers this year. UCLA is still a massive question mark. I think they're trending in the right direction. I like Nico Iamaleava. I think that offense will have a little bit more flash, a little more pizzazz to them. But are they going to be good enough, deep enough, and talented enough to hang with really the top half or at least top third of the Big Ten? We'll find out. Michigan State, I still think Jonathan Smith has a couple more years at least in East Lansing until they finally start to see some production and get themselves back into the mix. Minnesota and PJ Fleck, a lot of talent. I love PJ Fleck. I was honestly the biggest PJ Fleck supporter of taking a job at like a premier program for the longest time. And when he came to Minnesota, we remember he had a top 10 season. I remember the emotional win against Penn State, and then it's just kind of like it's fallen apart. Washington is one of my wild cards. All right, Jed Fish and this team, Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, so much talent. Like a workable schedule. They do have some tough games in there, but Husky Stadium is one of the toughest places to play. They haven't lost a home game in how long? We know Jed Fish is a quarterback whisperer, and we know Damon Williams has the talent to do it. I mean, this team has all the pieces to really shock a lot of people. Look, 9-10 wins this year would not shock me from Washington. I look forward to seeing that one. Indiana and Kurt Cignetti, can they replicate? All right, Fernando Francisco, I can never, ever remember his name. I think it's Francisco Mendoza, comes in from Cal Berkeley. Look, big size, big arm. When you put the film on and the tape from last year, there were parts that make you scratch your head, but the same could be said for Curtis Rourke, and we saw what he did with Kurt Cignetti last year as well. So interested to see them. Nebraska and Iowa are 2 huge question marks. If Iowa can play offense, what can they do? If Nebraska and Dylan Raiola get better, Dana Holgerson's the offensive coordinator, what can they do there? Okay. Illinois, Brent Bielema, returning starters galore. One of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess returning production teams in all of college football. I know I didn't word that very bright, but all I'm trying to get at is with Luke Altmaier and the goodness, 16, 17 returning starters that the Illini have this year. How can they not be good? They just won 10 games. Can they replicate? Can they get over the hump? USC is another big one. Lincoln Riley, are they going to be better? The talent's off the charts. Jaden Maiava, potential is absolutely there. Lincoln Riley is a proven winner. Let's see what the Trojans can do, right? There's so many teams in the middle of the pack, but here's who I think the top 4 teams in the Big Ten are. Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State. Those are the top 4. I think that's the upper echelon of the conference. Now, I understand Michigan last year was not up there, and they had a rough year, but I'm telling you, the Wolverines will be back. Maybe not this year, and I don't have them in the conference championship game, but I think they're going to be better. I have Oregon and Penn State in a rematch in the conference championship game this year. I think these are 2 teams with proven production. Now, Ohio State's an extremely good football team. However, I haven't seen enough. When toe meets rubber, Julian Sayin could come out and make this video completely pointless. But for right now, it's really hard to bet against Penn State and Drew Aller. Now, I still think Penn State's going to lose a game somewhere in this season, but I do think that Penn State will find their way into Indianapolis. I think Oregon finds their way in there. I think Penn State gets them this year. I think all the talk about James Franklin not being good enough, and I'm one of them. I'm guilty of it, that he cannot win the big games. But to me, it feels like it has to happen this year. And I've yet to see James Franklin with this much pressure on him and this much returning talent. I just hope it's all in for Penn State. You know, we are all in, right? I think it's going to be the year. I got the Nittany Lions winning the Big Ten championship over Dan Lanning and the Ducks in a revenge rematch from last season. That's it, friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know this one went a little bit longer than, maybe not. I guess we're still sitting at 6 minutes. I wanted to keep it brief, keep it short, because when toe meets rubber, that's when all this gets proven, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and spend 30 minutes talking about predictions that we know aren't going to happen. Like, if any of these come true, it's how much of a percentage of luck and the other percentage of just at least having some knowledge of who the top at least 5 teams are in a conference. So I'm not trying to credit myself. If anything, I'm discrediting myself here. I just do this for fun, and I love college football, and I love you guys, more importantly. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think. If you disagree, let me know, man. Tell me who you think wins the conference, and that's all I got. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.